Hello, my name is Chuck. Welcome back to the channel. We talk about investing in the Pokemon space. And today we are taking a look at product performance. Now, there's a lot of vibey information out there as to what we believe does best. Now, there is some data that does show what's best, but what I've done is I've looked at all of the products that we would typically see on the shelves that are available and compared each set across Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. I did this manually, so it took me a little bit. It was kind of fun, and I think the results are pretty interesting. So we are going to start by looking at the booster boxes. So what I have here, Sword and Shield, I have Scarlet and Violet. We have the averages of each era, and then we repeated that for all of the products, and we are actually leaving out check lane blisters because they perform similarly to sleeved booster packs. So ETBs, right off the bat, you can see that the performance of the last year, and again, this is from yesterday to the year prior, so 1 year time, right off the bat, ETBs performed incredibly well over the past year, especially special sets. And I've left out Prismatic and Destined Rivals and Journey Together because they're really new. So the data is very skewed. But the rest of the sets in the era, and both eras, perform quite well. Special sets particularly well. Shrouded Fable a little bit under, but still pretty solid. PC ETBs, pretty interesting. Shrouded Fable had a higher performance in the regular ETBs than they did in the special sets. I'm not 100% sure if that's because there was a Shrouded Fable reprint. I think the PCTBs were available forever, and then they eventually sold out. So when the ETBs are $32, you're probably going to see a correction happen at some point. And Sword and Shield ETBs were printed super heavily. At the time, interestingly, there wasn't a ton of demand. And even back in December, this last Black Friday, I got a bunch, and a lot of people too, got a lot of the Target, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, was it Brilliant Stars, and Astral Radiance ETBs at a super cheap price. So, the returns are pretty good, but it's no wonder that we have a lot of really strong performance in the SV era too, because these have had years to be printed, and you see all the pictures of all the Fusion Strike, for instance, like ETBs for $15 at Costco forever, right? So interesting to note, PC ETBs obviously performed quite well. We saw a lot of appreciation in the Sword and Shield era, Chilling Reign and Fusion Strike. The theme is Fusion Strike was just an absolute monster this past year. A lot of the growth was because of the last month when it nearly doubled in price. Or maybe it did. I don't know if it's still holding at that price at this point. I don't think it is, but incredible performance from Fusion Strike. Pretty incredible. SV special sets, once again, performing at a very high percentage, particularly because of the 151 PCTV. That's just bonkers. Three pack blisters. Sword and Shield had a lot of appreciation here, probably because these are more widely available. They're easier to get, and I think there's kind of a market for three pack blisters if they have a good promo, like the Evolving Skies one with the Umbreon. Those tend to do pretty well over time. Sleeved booster packs, pretty solid performance, nothing too crazy there, kind of typical. Really everything is expensive right now. Booster bundles, incredibly strong performance. They started, I believe, in Lost Origin, so I've removed all the other sets if you were wondering why. Obviously Crown Zenith, we saw some recent reprints of those, holding strong, not really affected at all. Really consistent, solid performance over the SV era. For the most part, it's in descending order, except for Paldea Evolved. which I think there were a number of those reprinted in the last few months too, as well as some other sets. But yeah, more in line with what you would expect. And then special sets, 151 booster bundles were printed quite heavily, as well as Paldean. But Paldean, across the board, has just seen a really consistent, really high average ROI across all products. Build a Battle Stadiums, they stopped printing these, I think, with Paradox Rift. There's some exclusivity there, not really super popular. You know, the Fusion Strike only sold out recently, I think in like January, if I remember correctly. I got a couple of those, which I was happy about. Yeah, I think there's some utility there, you know, for people who play the TCG, the collectors. You know, you build a Battle Stadium, you have a pretty good amount of cards there. It's kind of like a mini 1/3 of a booster box. So not a bad, really premium on that product, and we can kind of expect to see really strong growth on that pretty underrated product, to be honest. Same story with Build and Battle Box, just 4 packs instead. Less gains, less packs, kind of typical. Still decent performance. And then loose booster packs are going to be among the worst performing products, as you can expect. But not that bad, because I think my theory is that rip and shippers buy a lot of loose booster packs to open, and that's probably true for the average collector and investor as well, if they're wanting to open them in the future. Or you know, it's pretty much historically seen as the cheapest way to get packs, and so you see a lot of them get bought up, sold, ripped, whatever it may be. So yeah, here's all the data if you want to take a look at it. If you're on mobile, I apologize, I know it's going to be really small, so I'm still working on figuring out how to share this with you guys. I'm an idiot, I apologize. Also, data visualization, it's not optimal, I totally understand. I might work on that soon. Look, I don't have all the skills in the world for everything. That's a darn fact for most things. But yeah, I'll try to figure out how to get that to you guys. I got, in the last video, if you noticed, I changed the title of this to, if you're reading this, comment your favorite mon. One person did in the comment section, CTE, shout out to CTE. I'm in contact with him. I have chosen him for the giveaway. So he commented Snorlax. He is the winner of the Destined Rivals Blister pack. So congratulations. We're emailing. He lives out of the country, so I'm going to be paying a little bit more on shipping, but I'm happy to, because I appreciate everything that y'all have given me so far. Thank you again. Yeah, so what do we do with this information? I mean, it's a bunch of numbers. I can see that we have averages across both eras. Well, I went ahead and ranked by average ROI for each product type. No surprise, PCTB coming in at number 1 pretty clearly. The exclusivity, they're only available on Pokemon Center. Many of these, you know, there's typically one wave and that's it, right? And, you know, a lot of this is carried by sets like Paldea Evolved, sets like Obsidian Flames, having just really, really strong performance because the promos are so good. And actually, I find this average performance for the SV era more impressive than Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield, if I remember correctly, does not have a promo in the PCETBs, except I don't think Crown Zenith even does either. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think any of them do. So 263% across the era. If you are investing, the PCTB continues to be the best even now. And I expect it to continue to be the best in the future because of that exclusivity. Even with Prismatic, Prismatic Evolutions getting that second restock, and on the Pokemon Center website, it says that they're going to make more maybe this year. I guess we'll see what happens. I don't expect these to come down too much. And anytime there's a special set PC ETB, you're going to be doing well. Deaths and Rivals still pretty expensive. Last time I checked, it's like $170 roughly. So trained together is like 110, which represents, all of those represent well over 200% minimum. You know, Prismatic's like, I don't know, 400% or something. So pretty interesting to see. Now, what's interesting is that the regular ETB saw the second highest growth by a good margin. Yeah, I think it's partially due to Sword and Shield aging. In the last year, we saw a lot of growth for regular ETBs. I bet the year before looked a lot different. The ROIs were, I mean, they would be nothing because these are all basically close to, like, well under MSRP, except for Evolving Skies, which makes sense. And then, of course, the SV era, these are all well under MSRP, and then they shot up pretty much at the same rate. Really, everything in the hobby is getting bought out. Special sets performed extremely well. Paldean Fates, man. Paldean Fates is a beast. 34 to 144. I think that's even... I think it might even be higher, if I remember correctly. Maybe it dropped. But yeah, 151, also just a monster set. Build and Battle Stadiums, like I said, there's some weird... a lot of the products are pretty old. So there's not as much kind of weighing the percentage down. So I think it's a little bit skewed because they stopped printing them, so it's mostly older sets, which makes sense, but still pretty good performance. It's a 12-pack sealed box. So, I mean, it's pretty good value. It's a lot of packs, and we can expect that to be performing quite well. So with that being said, I would still probably personally rank booster boxes above just because I think the data is slightly skewed, but, you know, average ROI, there you go. If you bought them at MSRP, you're pretty happy. Booster boxes, 226% across the eras. Really strong performance. We expect that. You know, Deaths and Rivals was really expensive, not included in this data set. Sword and Shield ROI jumped a lot recently, as well as SV era, quite frankly. I expect Sword and Shield to perform very well in the next year across all eras, and I think this data will look a lot different. Booster bundles, pretty surprising. I guess maybe not that surprising, but very strong performance, very available product, 6 packs, good value, not a lot of fluff. You know, across both eras and the special sets, you know, you saw pretty good growth, particularly in Sword and Shield. Makes sense, right? It's older. Paldean Fates, really strong booster bundle appreciation, which again at $27, it's about retail, maybe slightly below retail. You could expect that. 151, I think at this point had appreciated a decent amount. You know, it was pretty much $40, but there were still drops you could get for 30 that came out, and they'd be up for like a week or something. You know what I mean? So maybe slightly skewed. You know, if we say this is 27, then all of a sudden, you know, our average goes up a few percentage points. So just keep that in mind. The set's older. 166% is really, really strong even for that. And then you get down to everything else, right? And then there's really not that much difference as far as this data set is concerned across these 4 product types. So the sleeved pack, the loose, the 3-pack blister, and the build and battle box, they're all really kind of neck and neck. You're not going to have much difference. And of course, there's some factors that go into that, like availability. Loose booster packs are a little bit higher because I think people they're ripping them, and so supply gets lower as opposed to something like a 3-pack blister where maybe those are a bit more collectible, a little bit better to display. Let me know your thoughts. I'd be curious to see if there's maybe some takeaways from those 4 that, you know, that I'm missing. But again, not too much of a difference there across those 4 products compared to the rest. So here's the average ROI for every single set in the last year performance. Fusion Strike, just monster year. And I expect Fusion Strike to continue to do quite well. I really expect all of Sword and Shield to continue to do quite well. The special sets are just so They're so good. Paldean Fate's edging out 151. I mean, it's a little bit newer. I haven't really seen too big of a reprint for a lot of the products for Paldean Fates. The bundles are hitting the market, but I think there were way more 151 booster bundles printed from what I can tell, just from my own viewpoint. But yeah, special sets, these three are all loved, especially 151 and Crown Zenith. And I think those are going to continue to do well. I mean, everything is probably going to do well, but you know, these are older, right? This is approaching, I think, a year and a half. 151 is almost 2 years old, or maybe this is like 1 year and a quarter. Fusion Strike coming up on 4 years ish. And then we have Evolving Skies now. I think Evolving Skies is always going to be an average ROI beast, so to speak. It's going to kind of be in that top echelon, may even be the top over the next year. We'll see, because it did appreciate quite a bit. But again, just monster growth, even at these prices. I don't see it stopping. I still think there's value in Evolving Skies. It is the defining set of the modern era. And then surprisingly, Obsidian Flames. Now, a lot of that is the PC ETP. Got the Charmander, looks great. Got the really sick promo. But also the booster boxes and really all of the other products performed well. I think Obsidian Flames boxes are like $250. So pretty surprising considering it has the lowest set value in the era. You know, it could be that it was, I'm not going to say it was short printed because there was a ton of stock, but I don't know. I think it was ripped quite a bit. Maybe that's part of it. It's a small set. I'd be curious to know y'all's thoughts on this, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's pretty old now. How old is it exactly? It is coming up on 2 years in August, so it's getting up there. Feels like it came out yesterday. But yeah, the best performing main set of the last year was Obsidian Flames. I don't think anybody would have predicted that a year ago, which just goes to show that we can only try to understand what goes on. And then Paldea Evolved right behind it. Great set. One of the stronger ones in the era by all, you know, speculative metrics. SV base, pretty good. Very good performance. You know, it's 2 years old, so you could expect that from the older sets. And then you have Silver Tempest, Brilliant Stars, kind of neck and neck ROI percentage-wise across all of the products. Twilight Masquerade, really strong growth. Very expensive booster box, $240. I'm waiting for hopefully some more to be printed. It's still quite young. I think it's barely a year old. No, it just turned a year old. Lost Origin, pretty surprising data point for me here. I thought it would be higher because of the booster box. I think there's a lot of gains to be made with the ETBs, the PC ETB, right? You know, there's a lot of product on that. But yeah, pretty strong performance overall. A lot loose booster packs for, I think a lot of that is what's weighing it down. There's a lot of collection boxes and kind of ancillary products that contribute to that. Temporal Forces, Paradox. Temporal Forces, you know, I prefer Paradox Rift, but over the last year, Temporal, 14% higher increase. Pretty interesting. Astral Radiance, pretty solid growth. Chilling. Stellar Crown, Chilling Rain. Chilling Rain, one of the... I'm Mr. Chilling Rain, Mr. Blue Box investor over here. Thank you to who pointed that out last time. I think it's relevant. All the boxes are white for the most part in the set. You know, it's blue. It's different. Anyway, who cares? Yeah, actually the worst set average ROI over the past year. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case this next year. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, but yeah, pretty interesting data point. Shrouded Fable, 182%. Surging Sparks, pretty new set. It's the newest set. We would expect it to be low. 159% over the last, since it came out. Still pretty strong. So some key takeaways. I'm definitely expecting Sword and Shield to outperform Scarlet and Violet in the next 365 days. There are so many reprints to be had for the SV era over the next year. I just think it's based on the ages of the set. Sword and Shield is done for the most part. Now we had some like Silver Tempest build and battle boxes, but like for the most part, it's done. And I expect it to outperform SV, which is why, as far as investing goes for me, I'm putting most of my focus to those sets. Generally speaking, if you can, avoid the ancillary products. Now, it's going to depend on your budget and what you're comfortable spending. And let me say this again, please be responsible. I only invest a small percentage of my portfolio in Pokemon. Most of it's in the S&P 500, etc. I'm boring, I'm sorry, I know. But yeah, guys, this is a purely speculative asset. We'll call it, because it is a collectible asset technically. But yeah, I mean, everybody's situation is going to be different. 3-pack blisters might make sense for you, but you know, booster bundles are going to do well. They're kind of that happy median between lots of packs, expensive, and a loose booster pack. I wouldn't put too much like effort into getting build and battle stadiums, because I think booster boxes are technically better because these are older sets. This data point would look a lot different if they had some of the newer ones. So just keep that in mind. ETBs, I think we've kind of flip-flopped. These are going to perform very well in the future. I do think SV is going to probably see some more ETB reprints. So we'll see what happens. I expect Sword and Shield to do pretty well over the next year in this regard. Again, I think Sword and Shield will perform better overall over the next year. We'll see. PC ETBs, obviously no-brainer. Super exclusive, Pokemon Center only. They don't make any more of them. So I expect it to be the #1 performing. It is interesting to think about PCTBs because, yeah, they're exclusive. They have the stamped promo. But, like, there is a part of me that feels like they're kind of overrated. I mean, yeah, they're just exclusive. There's not really... I mean, I think there's one extra booster pack in the SV era, right? But, I mean, selling these for, like, a super high premium in the future, like, if Obsidian Flames is $1,000... but like well before anything else, like, I mean, it's cool, but that's at what, like, there's, I feel like the recent performance of PC ETBs are relatively new. I part of me questions like the long-term liquidity of PC ETBs. Do people, are they going to care the same in the future about a stamped promo and having that little Pokemon Center logo on the front? I don't know. Maybe they will, but I mean, they do about consoles and stuff, but the consoles, like, from back in the day, they look cool. Like the Rayquaza, I think, you know, all the Japanese, like, Game Boy SP, stuff like that, like, they're unique. And these are really essentially the exact same thing as the ETB, but with a stamp. So, I don't know. It's kind of artificial. People do care about them. Time will tell. Time will tell, right? Yeah, special sets are amazing for investing. SV's special sets are amazing for investing. Paldean Fates has the highest ROI of the last year of SV sets across the board. That's pretty absurd. Even with how many bundles have been printed. Now, ETBs haven't been printed as much. I totally understand that. That might change in the future. So with that being said, I think 151 is still the best investment right now for long-term growth. It makes total sense. Obviously, PC ETBs perform well. Booster bundles perform well across all eras. I mean, considering we have a lot of new booster bundles, old booster bundles, it's just a very solid investment. You can, you know, put money into it confidently and know that 6 packs with no extra fluff, it's a solid deal. And for a lot of investors, that's a price point that they feel comfortable maybe buying in a couple and throwing them away. And they do get open at a high rate too. So it's kind of like a sweet spot for really everything. Loose packs, I mean, I would not invest in these, obviously, but there are situations where you're going to have some, like, for instance, like I said, the Black Friday 10s, you got 5 Sword and Shield packs. Now I have a bunch of loose packs, and they're harder to verify. People aren't as keen to buy them for that reason. You never know if they're resealed. Ribbon shippers buy them. So there's kind of both angles where you don't want to buy them, but then people still do because It's just it's a pack without any other attachment to it. Kind of an interesting product, but I would typically stay away from those, obviously, and they're one of the last things to see any increase in value. I would expect that the average ROI for a loose booster pack 3 months ago compared to other product types, I wouldn't be surprised if it were the bottom, quite frankly. Regular ETBs perform nearly as well in many cases to pretty much anything across all eras. And it's a really good alternative to the PC ETB that's sold out and at a much more affordable price point. You know, I think collectors and investors, they value ETBs as a good display piece. They're opened quite frequently. I open them too. It is interesting to see that it doesn't feel like they make that many ETBs for some of Scarlet and Violet. Now they do, but for Paldean 151, they don't, as far as we can tell. Of course, I don't have any numbers to verify all of the, the product print numbers, but yeah, I think those are kind of the main takeaways that I have. Again, I'm going to try to work on this to get this to you guys. But if you found value in this video, let me know. I think it's good to actually understand what the average ROI is across all investment types, because people are like, what about ETPs? What about booster boxes? Those are too expensive. There's a lot of different options, and for the most part, they kind of all perform similarly, but you're going to have some premium and exclusivity, collectability, display, being opened in more frequency, and then booster boxes, packs, same with booster bundles, right? Just more packs, less fluff, good to display, etc. So, it's kind of a long one. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is useful information, and if you enjoy kind of looking more at the data, consider leaving this video a like. I like doing these types of things every now and then, of course. And yeah, I think it's pretty interesting to see. So yeah, comment, like, subscribe if you want. Again, thank you to everybody who has supported this channel over the past week. I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's barely been a week since everything happened, and we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is just unreal. I'm so grateful. So grateful. Thank you guys so much. And I will look forward to the next video. Until then, thank you, and have a great evening wherever you are. See ya.